Underwriting sits at the very core of insurance. But how is that set to change? What is the impact of key challenges, such as aging and longevity, the rise of natural catastrophes? How are we going to underwrite currently non-insurable risk? What is the impact of so many new data streams? And how can insurers keep up with new developments while the current data already comes with challenges? Are underwriters going to be replaced by AI? Do underwriters have to become data scientists? Will underwriting become more science and less art? All this and much more will be discussed in the talk show Uncovering the Future, Underwriting in the Age of Digital, hosted by Claire Knight, the founder and CEO of DAX.
Welcome to the stage, everybody. The future of underwriting. Pleasure to have you all here.
Thank you.
Talk show style today, not your usual panel. So we're going to be focusing on each of the individuals, and we're going to be looking at their views and their takes, slightly different takes on the future of underwriting today. So I'm going to start with you, Sylvie. Welcome to the stage. Future of underwriting. Is it the same across the board, do you think, the future? Or do you think there'll be themes, or will it be different depending on class of business? What are your thoughts?
So I guess long term, yes, we might look at a similar future, but I would say in the short and mid term, when all of us are still alive, I do think we are going to see differences. I think, when you have the more commoditized product, say in personal lines, which is more run of the mill, I think because the need to make things more efficient is just so much stronger than what you would have in more specialized lines of business where you can still charge for expertise and that more hands-on approach. So yeah. I think we are definitely going to see two streams. And I think we do already. I mean, it's no surprise that InsurTech, I believe, has had most of its success in personal lines as opposed to corporate lines.
True, yeah. So, Sylvie, you've tried to explain to me your role a couple of times now, and it's frankly massive, not going to lie to you, and it encompasses a myriad of different functions. It's amazing. But at its most basic, you ask the question, how do we do it better? And then you make it better, right? Basically. So how do we make underwriting better in the future?
So for me, there are two aspects to making underwriting better. One is more the efficiency side of things. And for me, that is in essence, how do we cut out manual labor out of the things that we do? If we compare insurance to our cousins in banking or asset management, it's actually kind of embarrassing how far behind we are. And I think it's even more embarrassing sometimes that we seem to take pride in doing things manually. It's a bit odd. So removing manual labor and rekeying and that sort of thing from the basics is one thing of how you do it better. The other, which for me is the icing on the cake, is how do you use assets at your disposal, and I'm talking about data and analytics now, to actually understand the risks that you underwrite better. So insurance is still very much an art, or is claimed to be an art. I would like to turn it more into science. It doesn't mean that we take the human out of the loop or the judgment out of the loop, not at all. But it's about making sure that we pull in all the information that we possibly can to inform the view on the risk that we are underwriting.
Indeed, yeah. So technology, we're here at this amazing technology conference. What role do you think technology is going to play in the future of underwriting?
I think that's a rhetorical question on a conference like this. But look, I would say huge. Just like technology plays a huge role in most other industries today, we are no exception. I know a lot of insurance people always tell me, yeah, but Sylvie, but we're so special. Sorry, that's a lot of BS. We're not that special. Just like most businesses have become tech businesses that happen to sell a certain product, I do see a similar path for insurance. I think we are still in early days. I'm not going to compete with tech issues on stage. I think that's far too exciting. There we go. Look, I think we're only seeing the very beginning. I think there is a lot of talk, quite clearly. Have we seen concrete examples at scale as yet? Not as many. But then again, I'm also not surprised because I think so much of the established insurance industry is still at the very beginning of fixing the basics. So I think if people can kind of bear with us and watch us innovate through getting the basics right, I have no doubt that technology will be in most places going forward.
Yes, Sylvia, I think that's a really good point that, you know, we are still struggling with the basics as an industry. And how can we be expected to innovate and do all of these big things and shift ourselves when we're kind of building on quicksand, I suppose, right? It's a tough one. Thanks, Sylvie.
Pleasure.
Some really important points there. Claire, hello, welcome to the stage. So we were lucky enough to go to the ladies' event last night at the Gaudi House. Fabulous, by the way. And we really got stuck into this whole, you know, chat GPT thing, which, by the way, is a bit of a buzzword that I'm possibly more sick of hearing than the new normal, but that's another story. But you raised something with me that I think was really important last night, and that's the story of the bias of things like chat GPT. Can you share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, happy to do so. I mean, I think at the moment, I checked the stats on ChatGPT before coming up today, and it's 100 million active users right now, and it's 1.8 billion visitors a month. And I've heard also stories that employees, well, prospective employees are also asking employers, if I join you, can I use ChatGPT at work? Really? Now, I don't know if that's to do the shortcuts or to do their job for them, because I also see some other stories of that as well, or whether or not it's that freedom to innovate or experiment or see what's there. But yeah, one of the concerns I have around anything like this really is, where's the data source coming from? And if the data source has come from a particular sector of society, be that socioeconomic, be that regional, be that gender, that's going to become, the data set that we're building on. And does it become then a scenario that the data is sort of ever decreasing circles because we're fishing from the same pond all the time and we're building in that same space rather than looking left and right or looking, for other perspectives or other opinions? Does it become too easy? Does it, we talked about, like people rely on something like Wikipedia as opposed to actually looking for the news for themselves. But actually Wikipedia, there's a whole load of errors in it. So does ChatGPT become a source of errors or a source of misinformation as much as a source of information? So I think it's something that we really need to be careful of, and that we need to have that sort of, take that wider perspective and be a bit more critical about what we get out of solutions like that. That's my thoughts around that.
I think you're so right. That's something that definitely scares me. And when I look at, I think we were talking about the comparator of heart attacks and the fact that, the amount of research that goes into that is very different for men and women.
Yeah, I mean, for years they said that, heart attacks look like this. Well, that turned out that was heart attack symptoms for men.
Correct, yeah.
It ignored 50% of the population.
Yeah.
So the other 50% of the population are then having undiagnosed heart attacks or issues because the symptoms aren't the same. And I would hate to see that that's what ChatGPT becomes as well, that it's become this very small segment of what is a much wider society.
Yeah, agreed. So we know things like AI rely heavily on what we put into it.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. The industry has got a massive data problem. We know that, right? We see it all the time. So how, is our legacy screwing our future when it comes to data?
It's certainly not helping, if I put it that way. I mean, in the past, I look after property engineering and marine lines, and particularly in property, there's an awful lot of data to be entered. Locations, different deductibles, different limits, all of that sort of things. And I think in the past, the main reason to put the policy in the system was to get a policy number, to create a premium invoice, to pay tax, and if you were lucky, you had one total sum insured and you had one limit of liability. Well, now with the need that we have for greater data, you need all the sublimits, you need all the subdeductibles, you need all of that. But we haven't necessarily given that as a main job to do. Secondly, before we had operations really in underwriting units, underwriters were never the best data entry people. And I say that with the best will in the world, having been there myself, yeah. But it wasn't the be all and end all of the job. It wasn't what you're being targeted on. So I do think the legacy data that we have is quite an issue, because we want to still take our lessons from the past and apply them, somewhat to the future. Okay, in some areas it's not going to be a directly relevant equation. If we talk about climate change and you talk about natural hazards, it's not a directly relevant equation. But if you talk about fire, explosion, etc., then it probably has more correlation. So I think if we're able to get to a place with technology where we can identify some of those bad data matches in real time, as opposed to clean-up work, that would be great, because then we wouldn't be adding to the data rubbish pile. But I think it's equally about making sure our underwriters realise just how important that data is for us and is for the success of their organisation, so that both underwriters, operations, etc., take that responsibility seriously.
Yeah, it's such a good point. It really is. The focus has been on for underwriters, particularly when you look at their bonus structures, when you look at their job descriptions, it's all about the bottom line, right? It's all about your gross written premium. So it feels like, we need to get good data in, but it also feels like the underwriter's role, there needs to be a different nuance on what the underwriter does, and the role that data, perhaps a focus on the data they're putting in, but also then what are they going to do with that data? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think technology and data need to augment the underwriter experience. And I think you touched on similar things, Sylvie, as well, in terms of, we need to be putting the tools at their disposal, but we also need the demographic, the skill set of underwriters that are able to use that. And I spent some time working in Paris, and as an example, I had a team that had been with the company longer than I've been alive, many of them, and they'd been hired to work for a French domestic insurer, which over the years had turned into a global international carrier. And guess what? Their English skills weren't great. And then they struggled to do that job. And I think we're going to find the same thing with the demographics within our underwriting community, that people were hired at a certain point in time to be able to do a certain role, and the role is changing. And some of them will not be able to change with that role. Yeah. I think if you combine that as well with a demographic that is more towards the older age bracket, generally in insurance, than the younger age bracket, combined with our difficulty as an industry to sell insurance as a go-to career place, I think it's going to make an interesting challenge for us all.
I completely agree, Claire. Yeah, it's a tough one. Thank you. David, hello. So you've been helping the insurance industry to bring itself into the future for a wee while now, you might say. Most recently at InRule. We've touched on ChatGPT already, but what are your views on AI generally for underwriters? How pivotal is it going to be? Is it going to replace humans? Is it going to get rid of us?
Yeah, well, can I say the first thing is that here we are at a technology conference, and you've got iPads and I've got handwritten notes, so my apologies for that. I think from my perspective, when it comes to AI and ML, it's not a silver bullet for insurance. It really isn't. There's so much more to it than that. We did a survey that had a response rate which is very negative for ChatGPT and AI, and it was saying that 52% of respondents that had a 2 or 4 year college degree distrusted ML, and actually of the same consensus, 54% distrusted generative GPT type products. So there's absolutely a market for it. The insurance industry will go that way, but it's important to have guardrails. You put rubbish in, you get rubbish out. It's not quite that generic and binary, but ultimately it's got to have guardrails behind what you get from it. But with it out, it's going that way for sure.
Awesome. So we've already touched on the skill set of the underwriter before, but I think there's probably another element to this, which is empowerment of underwriters. Do you think that underwriters are properly empowered to handle the complexities of today, even, never mind the masses of data that they're going to be getting in the future?
So we get these questions all the time, particularly from whether it's claims or underwriting, but particularly underwriting. It's how can we be more empowered to do our roles? So we talk to underwriters day in, day out, and my problem is I'm an underwriter, I'm in an underwriting team, we've got this underwriting machine, it's in a black box, in a bunker, downstairs, we can't get access to it. So when I want to go in and change some rules, some logic, some rates, I can't. So the underwriters need to go to IT with a change request, which is, it's all fine and dandy and it works. But when you're in a tight market and you have to do more with less and faster, it's not the most dynamic way of trying to get the best rates out to your customer as quickly as you can. So we're often finding underwriters are asking us, look, what have you got that would help us automate our underwriting process, that would make it more simple, that would give our underwriters control of that logic so that they can go and change underwriting rules, underwriting rates without having to go to IT, who, with the best will in the world, often have better things to do with their time than make operational changes to underwriting systems.
Yeah, no, that's great. You've just touched on something there, which is customer. I'm going to pick up on that, customer. Anyone that knows me will know I've got a bee in my bonnet about customer service. And I know you do too. So in your view, what is the current state of customer experience in the insurance world?
Well, I think so when it comes to customer service, in the same survey, 74% said that they didn't find that customer services was excellent within insurance. Now, excellent is a really, in my view, subjective thing. But if 74% of respondents are saying it, then they've hit a mark somewhere. I think ultimately, the insurance customers need to be empowering their teams to help their teams manage the customer journey. As I said, it is a very tight market. So where it is so tight, I wouldn't say that if those that have the best service will get the win. You've got to have it's a combination of things, but ultimately, you want to be empowering your team to give the customer the best journey that you can. Certainly one of my friends, he's been in insurance for 30 years. He's been at the front end, and he's now taken a role in the backfield as such. It's a group-wide role, and it's all about making sure that customer services within their group of brokers, of 350 UK brokers, are the best they can possibly be. And they're putting so much emphasis on the customer journey, making it perfect, but also from the insurance side, can we help our customers to self-serve? Can they get access to a rate in minutes, not hours? Is it easy to get documents? There's a requirement for tools and services to make it as easy for your customers from the insurance perspective as can be.
I completely agree, David. And I think when we look at the future of the industry, I think we need to do a better job as an industry of turning things on its head and looking at things from the point of view of the customer at the beginning. And that's everything from how they obtain insurance, what the insurance looks like, how we communicate these products to them. And I think it's, and then all the way through to claims, obviously, which often gets forgotten, which is, our shop front. Thank you, David. Really interesting points.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I'm delighted to be closing on a real-life example of an entity that's taken that first step into, the future of underwriting. And I welcome Anna to the stage. So, Anna, at Lagunaro, you have recently integrated a life insurance product into online banking with Laboral Kuta. The previous method, I understand, was a telephone interview, and that took forever. Now you've got this fully integrated, seamless subscription that can be all accessed through the bank. Which sounds awesome. So from your perspective, what was the main challenge in tackling this project?
Well, the objectives were multiple. But to be honest, cost savings and process efficiency improvement were the fundamental one. But we didn't want to give up the quality in the subscription from we started with teleselection. And if it has possible to increase the level of autonomy in the management of questionnaires, decision-making, and selection and pricing criteria, relying on digitalization not only internally but for the end client. Of course, improving
The customer experience?
yes, customer experience and their vision as a mother company was another of challenge. Above all, with a young customer profile such as that of mortgage. Then we have the ambition to digitally subscribe complex life insurance in terms of guarantee and capital, but with the same low rate of refusal, 0.75%. That's
Super. So, what do you consider to have been the keys to your success in this project?
Well, I believe that thinking big and investing in a project for the future which would rather all the know-how of the person who has been underwriting risks and processing claims in Lagunaro for many years, supporting us and looking for synergies with the digital solution which with the bank customer were familiar or were already familiar. And it's a pleasure to be able to say that will be recovered before the first year after the launch the cost of the investment. Not to doubt the improvement in cost of scale that allow us to absorb production increases without having to grow proportionally in personnel resource or having to pay unit cost tolls to service providers.
Awesome. So, do you want to tell us a bit more about it? What does it look like? What is the current process now?
Well, the customer access the questionnaire by logging into the web bank's application, which we call Laboral Kutxa Bol, online banking. Then, by means of APIs, the insurer, Lagunaro, configure after each answer of the question the next question based on a three-structure questionnaire, thus achieving confidential, global, modular and dynamic questionnaire. Next, we process the digital signature like another financial transaction, which is another grid call with and at final the rules engine is executed, giving us the underwrite solution immediately. So we know if the customer must need attach a medical report to the request, he can do it easily from this website. Of if he can be accessed automatically with or without extra premium. Of it, on the contrary, it has to be reviewed by the underwriter teams. And all that reinforced by an automatic and personalized communication and reminder systems, SMS, warnings, push, email, configured for each situation according to the situation of each questionnaire. exceeding the abandoned task rate 80%. Well, and all this, we have equipped with applications and tools for questionnaire, for rules, for communication, to allow product users autonomously grow the model without IT developments.
Amazing. Anna, I'm really conscious of the time, and I know that there's so much more that you want to say about it, but there's some really amazing benefits have come out of what Anna's doing. They've taken a process that would take days and possibly even into beyond a week to get this information in, and that's now down to less than 24 hours to get all of the information that they need in. It takes just under 14 minutes to complete it. So completely and utterly transformed that thing. And for me, the big takeaway from when I've been speaking to Anna before, who, by the way, does not speak English. So can we just take a moment? Thank you, Anna, because that was, thank you. And I know that the focus for you guys has always been on customer, right? So everything that you have designed and built has been what's going to make our customers' life easier. And you said there at the beginning of your presentation that it was about not just looking at also your younger profile customers, the younger customers who expect to be able to interact in this way. Younger customers ain't picking up the phone, right? That's not happening. And that was a big one for me. But you've also said to me before that it's the importance of the impact on your employee's life. Because again, it used to be very, very hard work for your employees to again be picking up the phone or having these interviews, having to make these decisions, whereas now there's a decision tree that takes away masses of the hard work. So it's really awesome what you guys have done over there. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. We're reaching an end. I can see I've got 6 seconds left, but in summary, thank you so much for you guys. But in summary, our takeaways are AI is not the silver bullet. Our underwriters need to change, and some of them may not be able to. We know that data is a problem. We need to be worried about the biases that might come through from ChatGPT and things like that. And we've seen a really great example from Anna over here of customer focus. Okay, so customer ain't going away. And particularly with the implementation of technology, there's bigger expectations coming from our customers on how they want to interact with us as an industry. So would like to say thank you so much to our panel.